Melina from Yogeek here. So today for tips and tricks is kind of looking at shoulder progression. This will be a little bit more kind of yoga, like beginner yoga sort of people, but also just a way to kind of check in with, like, if you're doing a push-up, things like that, what's happening in the shoulder, what's happening in the spine, and to kind of talk about the idea of regression in order to progress. So a lot of times we'll kind of fly through exercises, especially when we're doing a lot of body weight, and it has that HIIT component where we're really moving quickly through things. And I think that can lead to moving in a way that isn't most optional, and that we forget to activate things in the right order in order to protect the joints, protect muscles, and protect ourselves from injury. So one of the things that I've been looking at, not only in my own stuff and things, is working on that kind of more that upper body strength and awareness of positioning of the body and how to activate things when doing things in yoga, such as chaturangas, or in a body weight exercise like push-ups. Now, for example, I've had to work through a shoulder injury, and there's a ton of my clients that have the same issue too. And so when we're working on things like a push-up, we'll regress back to using like the squat rack and bringing ourselves higher so that we learn how to activate the proper back muscles, the core engagement, having the legs involved in order to move with control, instead of collapsing into the shoulder or weird things happening in the spine. Okay, so today, I just want you to try a couple things just to see where you are, what your awareness is. So I would like you, if you have a couple blocks or a couple books, maybe have those handy, or a bolster or a big fluffy pillow, something like that, to have close by is great. Normally I would have you warm up by doing some shoulder mobilization, so you can lay on your back, lift your arms overhead, all that good stuff. I will be posting a yoga video that kind of addresses this in a fashion. But if you have a block or a book, I just want you to start just in a comfortable seat, making sure your pelvis isn't tucked. And you're going to hold on to the side of the block. So you're not gripping it, you're not doing this, but just enough pressure where you can kind of feel this activation of the chest. And then from there, shoulders are down, so they're not up here in your neck. And you're just going to push away. So you're moving into that protraction of the shoulder blades. So what happens here is that we tend to shrug up. So really taking that breath and releasing out, but really feeling that protraction, that broadening of the back. It's a cue you'll hear a lot, like in yoga, is broaden the back when you're in down dogs, things like that. So it's this reaching away concept. Now, to kind of discover what's happening with your shoulder mobility is you're going to inhale as you bring the block up, but you're still reaching away, like you're reaching for something on a shelf. And for some people who might be really tight in kind of this pec shoulder area, you may only be kind of, let me show you from the side, like here before weird things start happening, like you have to bend your elbows or you move into your thoracic. So it's just a way to kind of check in to see what's happening. So again, take the block, push it away so your nice and protracted shoulders are down so it's not creeping up in the neck. And inhale, lift over as much as you can, keeping that core engaged to keep the ribs from flaring out. So that's that thoracic extension. And then come back down. Okay? So do that a few times, just kind of see what's happening. I have another video about releasing the shoulder and stuff like that, the fascia and stuff. That'd be a good thing to do before this and after this. And then I want you to move into a tabletop position. So you're going to be on all fours, hips over knees. And while you're here, I want you to think again, so you have nice wide fingers, fingertips are gripping, and you're unweighting the wrist. So you have a little bit more of this kind of pressure coming into or sensation coming into this first row of fingers, index and thumbs, to keep you from rolling out on the hand. And I want you to think of that pushing away. So it's going to feel almost like you're going into a cat, that cat pose, but not quite. You just want to push the mat away, feel nice and broad through the back, and then step back into a plank, or you can stay on knees if you want, and then really tuck that pelvis, keeping this whole core engagement happening, and hang out with that, keeping that push just for a couple beats. Again, you can be on the knees, pushing away, tucking that core, and playing with that. Come out, take a little break. So this is where we're going to move into kind of seeing how push-ups are going. Now, I'm still working on this, so this is going to be a hoot. You can do this on knees. For those who are more comfortable with push-ups, go ahead and start in your full plank. As you lower yourself down, I want you to think of the arms moving not in a chaturanga, closed elbow, tight in position, but have them a little bit more in a push-up position so that the arms are kind of coming out at that more of that 45-degree angle. So you're going to come into your plank, find your good plank, and then you're going to slowly lower yourself down. I already felt what happened in my shoulders. I kind of collapsed into the shoulders. So what that indicates is that I really need to work on some strength, some upper body strength, specifically for these body weight type exercises. So the next thing I want you to do is grab a couple blocks or something, and you're going to have them under your chest. So again, you want to think hand position is going to be that push-up position. So you're starting from that push away, that nice protraction, but as you lower down, those shoulders are looped back, and you want to think that you're pulling and engaging that upper back muscle. So you're bringing and engaging those rhomboids, the scap muscles, all of that to help keep those shoulders from collapsing in. And usually that area is super weak on a lot of people because of computers and a lot of our forward leaning stuff. So hand position is going to be a little bit wider than you would in a chaturanga. Get yourself set up. You can do this on as a full push-up or on knees. And then you want to lower yourself down with control and press yourself back up and see what happens. Now, what I see a lot of times is kind of like what I did, that little shoulder collapse in, or things like weird things start happening with the spine. So having the ground closer to you allows you to stop sooner and work on some drills to help build that awareness, the activation, and the strength. Another little test I want you to try is you're going to come all the way down on the belly, and you're going to slide your hands back as if you were going to do a chaturanga type thing. But again, think of the elbows a little bit, and you're not flared out, and you're not out like this, all the way out here. They are close to the side along the chest. Shoulders are looped back, but maybe the arms are not quite so hugged in like a chaturanga, because that's a lot of work for the triceps, little baby muscle. So maybe think about going a little bit more like a push-up. And what I see a lot of times, if you can push yourself up, awesome. But what I see a lot of times is a push-up going like this, or a push-up going, let's see if I can do it, where it's like there's this tuck, or there's like this lift to bring up. Weird things happen. So a little drill is to see where you are with this. So shoulders are looped back, finding that engagement. Nice big breath in, toes are tucked, and you're already engaging the core. So pubis is moving towards the mat, glutes, hamstrings, everything. You want to think the core lifting you and coming up, and then getting that nice kind of pushing away. Okay? Come back, stretch it out. Yummy. So like I said, this is something I'm still working on. You know, it's one of those things where I'll think I'm nailing it. And then I do something and it maybe like I get a little shoulder tweak and then I have to regress and kind of retrain and rebuild that strength to then go back to what I used to be doing. And that's kind of part of the process. And that's a way to take care of your body and prevent injuries instead of just trying to push through and building like bad habits in form. So those are just a couple things to look at. For just noticing like shoulder mobility and your upper body strength. Because especially in yoga, we get our legs and core strong pretty quick, but where I see the collapsing happen is when we start doing the chaturangas and some of the down dogs, things like that, and wonkiness happens. Another little fun thing to try is a bolster block, something of going under your pelvis. So this is more of kind of like if you were on your knees. So I'm still kind of tucking my pelvis, moving the pubis towards the mat so that I'm not arching and that my core is engaged. This time I'm going to do a little bit more of that close in chaturanga. Noticing if I'm not engaging properly and pressing back up. Coming down, pressing back up. And I'm sure when I re-watch this, I'll see like a little tweak that I probably do. And that's why sometimes it's good to, it's not being vain, but just to record yourself or have somebody watch you and see kind of what's happening, what your body is doing in space. So the last one I want to talk about are side planks. So I see these in a lot of home workouts. And there's a lot of weird things happening. And a complaint I get is like kind of in this area, rotator cuff or acromion process. So when you're coming into your side plank, for the purposes of this demonstration, I do want you to kind of do both knees together like mermaid. And you're going to have your elbow or your shoulder placed over your elbow. Some students prefer to have like the thumb up, the fist. Others like to have palm down. The biggest thing to notice here is that you're not rolling back so that all the pressure is kind of in the elbow. You want it to be more in this part of the arm. You're pressing here, it's strong bone, okay? So door number one for this is just getting set up, making sure hips are nice and stacked. You're not leaning too far over because that puts pressure in the shoulder. And to take a peek, make sure the arm's not way out here. You want it nice and under that shoulder. Setting yourself up. If you have neck issues, maybe look at the ground. You can look straight ahead. Whatever works. Nice big breath. So first door is just to push and feel the engagement of the shoulder that's working. A little bit of the forearm, feeling kind of the lats turn on maybe a little bit. So you can stay with that if you're just working on stabilization, staying out of pain, or you can start to lift up. Hand goes behind the head to keep the chest nice and open. Come back down, give it a rest. The next add-on to this is to add a little rotation through the thoracic. Now this is where you'll see, I'll do it from this side, when you're doing the thoracic, things like this happen. So that's again putting a lot of pressure on the shoulder joint. So for this, when you're coming into a rotation, you want to keep this upper arm super stable. So this again is going to show you range of motion. Don't push past your range of motion for that thoracic twist, thinking it's going to be better, because you can actually start hurting the shoulder, okay? So if you want to try that, again, you're going to do little mermaid legs. Core is engaged. When you're ready, make sure you're pressing the mat away through that forearm, nice and stable. Arm comes behind the head, nice. Set up, feeling the obliques working. And then you're going to rotate. Ooh, that was some good cracks. And then come back up. And I'm being really mindful. You shifted a little bit. of keeping this stable, to keep it from kind of rocking back and forth. That rotation is a lot harder on the shoulder. That's like down the road. You need to build a foundational strength and stabilization for that first. But those are just a couple things, couple drills to try, just to kind of see where you are, what's happening, what feels good. Take any one of those pieces and play with it. Try the block thing. You may be like, ooh, like, really stiff. And if you start moving through that thoracic, then you address that. You address the shoulder tightness, the back tightness, the pec tightness. Yeah. So that's my little kind of drill tips and tricks for this week. I did post kind of an older yoga video, so the audio is not as great on that. And then I did just teach a Facebook Live class today at noon, and then I'll see if I can upload that if you want it. If you don't want the yoga stuff, let me know. If you do want the yoga stuff, cool, I can do that. Other than that, as always, you're welcome to hit me up in comments, DMs, whatever, if there's something you want to see in particular, if you have a question about something, all of that. Thank you for playing. I will see you next week. Have a great weekend. Much love.